The long-simmering tensions between the U.S. and Russia erupting this week following the American military's downing of a Syrian warplane. Moscow is now threatening to target aircraft flown by the U.S. and its allies west of the Euphrates River. John Bolton is the former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations and a Fox News contributor. First of all, Ambassador, what happened to the narrative of the Trump administration and Russia being hand in glove?
Well, I don't think it ever was hand in glove. I think Vladimir Putin pursues with absolute clarity what he sees as Russian national interest, and the only appropriate American response to that is to do the same on our side. And right now, I think in the context of the war against ISIS and the region more broadly, I think the Defense Department, the State Department are still basically on autopilot from the Obama administration. There is not a new administration strategy, and we need one, not one that's dictated by the tactics of Russian or American planes in the sky over the region, but by a notion of how we want to defeat ISIS and what's going to come after it.
Well, ISIS, as I mentioned, Russia now created this new rule that no U.S. or NATO planes can fly south of the Euphrates. That's essentially Assad territory, the guy who controls Syria, who they're allied with. Is it possible? Can we just stay north of the Euphrates and avoid any conflict with Russia?
It's not for Russia to tell us where to fly.
Absolutely.
And this is one of the legacies of Barack Obama. He allowed a Russian air base to be built at Latakia. John Kerry famously said when asked, what's that base for? He said, oh, for force protection. What, to protect the Russian forces that ought to be in Russia and not Syria? We're not looking for military action, let's be clear, but I think we want to build up an American presence that says to the Russians, we will fly where we want to fly. And the people you ought to worry about deconflicting are Syrian and Russian pilots. But again, this has to be a piece of a larger post-ISIS strategy to prevent Russia's key allies, the Assad regime in Syria and the Iranians, from building an arc of control through the Baghdad government in Iraq, through Assad's control in Syria and Hezbollah in Lebanon to set the stage for the next conflict in the region. I'm afraid that's where they're going. I don't think we have a response.
Well, we have taken out a Syrian plane in air. We don't know what happened to the pilot. We've taken out many planes on the ground when they use chemical weapons. What happens if somehow a Russian gets in the mix and there's a Russian death? What happens between our two nations?
Well, again, we're not looking for it, but rule number one is we will protect American forces. We will protect them against the Syrian military, against Syrian planes, Syrian drones, or anybody else's planes or drones that we deem threatening to them. But to me, this is one argument why we've got to have a better understanding of what exactly are the forces we're using to help destroy ISIS. The Kurds, yes, some have their own trouble, but by and large the Kurds are with us. I think helping the Baghdad government is equivalent, sad to say, to helping the Ayatollahs in Iran. I think we need more Arab forces from the Gulf states, from Egypt, from Jordan, less reliance on some of these dubious Syrian groups. But that strategy has not yet emerged from state or defense.
By the way, it's not just in the Middle East. There was this confrontation over the Baltic Sea in which a Russian fighter jet came within 5 feet of a U.S. plane. I mean, that's pretty damn close.
It's extraordinarily dangerous, and they've done this in numerous instances, both with respect to planes and our ships in the Baltic. The Russians are still pushing forward. Let's not mistake Vladimir Putin here for somebody warm and fuzzy. He's tough as iron. He's totally cynical. He's still pushing to see how far he can get, and as of yet, he's still to see any material pushback from the administration. All
right. Meanwhile, the shakeup in the Middle East, a kind of a realignment, continues with the Saudi king appointing his 31-year-old son as the crown prince, kind of kicking out an older guy, a cousin that was in there before. I'm just wondering, any connection between the Trump visit a few weeks ago and this move?
Well, it's possible, but I think this has also been in the making for a while. I have to say, I am worried about it. not because I disagree with the modernizing agenda of the king and the new crown prince. There's a lot to be said for what they want to do. But the balance of power within the extraordinarily large Saudi royal family has been negotiated out for a long period of time. I don't think we've seen the end of this succession struggle, and while I certainly welcome modernization in Saudi Arabia, let's be clear, the Salafist clerics, the Wahhabis still hold enormous power, and I very much fear that if the modernization is not done carefully, we're going to face a Shah of Iran situation in Saudi Arabia, and to see that project collapse and a religious extremist regime take power, which would wreak havoc with the global economy.
I want to put a little more optimistic spin on this, and maybe it's not political spin, but the fact is that the realignment does bring together former enemies. I mean, Israel and Saudi Arabia have never been closer because they have this common enemy of Iran. And, of course, the United States is much stronger in the mix, not only because of what we did, what we proved we would do in Syria, but because of our commitment to our Arab allies in the Middle East. So this realignment could be the beginning of something extremely positive, no?
Well, if it continues, you know, there's nothing like a religious extremist with nuclear weapons to concentrate your attention in Saudi, in the other members of the Gulf Cooperation Council, in Israel. But if the Saudi regime, through personal ambition or family ambition, ends up destabilizing, everybody in the Gulf on the Arab side could be in trouble, and the opportunity for both Sunni extremists and the Ayatollahs in Tehran could be formidable.
You know, I tried to give you an out so that you could end on a positive note. You didn't take it, but Ambassador, it's good to see you anyway. Thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you, David.